To correct what I said in my last video stating that this episode is a Beach City episode, I only saw it as a Beach City episode, mainly the fact that it was still taking place on the beach, and the fact that it only took place on the road and mainly the places where the Crystal Gems stayed, which for me personally, it didn't feel like a Crystal Gems episode whatsoever. Like, it's a Greg and Rose episode, but in my point of view, it kind of felt like a Beach City episode. But let's get into this episode. Greg tells Steven the story on how he met Rose and grew a relationship with Rose. Granted, it's been established more in the later seasons when it comes to Greg's relationship with Rose, but when it comes to this first episode, it's mostly simple, and this is where we get the introduction of Paul, Amethyst, and Garnet when it comes to their lives with Rose. But before we get to that, let's get into the introduction of Marty, who, for me personally, it's your typical music manager that wants money and wants the most out of anything that he wants, rather than people's feelings, mainly Greg's feelings towards Rose. I'm gonna be truthfully honest, the fact that he returned in Season 3 is mainly an indication onto why reviewing that episode as part of my marathon is mostly indicating on how his character was, because like every other episode, I don't remember a lot from these episodes, but judging of how he's portrayed in this, and I watched this episode a few times than the other episodes, Greg really had a difficult childhood that was established in future, and just by seeing how he is, I can guarantee you that if he did go to the big show at Empire City, I'm pretty sure that he wouldn't be the person that we all remember from the show when it comes to his qualities. And I'm not saying that because being selfish is the reason that really drags characters down, because as far as I'm concerned, with more information centering around Greg's character, that he was in a difficult childhood in comparison to Steven's, who he never stood up against his parents. I don't even think it's even possible for him to find real love if he didn't pick Rose and go on tour, because since that Rose, who is Pink Diamond, denied on having Greg to be around, and the fact that she's willing to accept it, she's pretty much in a circle where she can't be able to get out of. Like, I know full well that Rose just doesn't know Greg personally in this episode up until the very end, and in later episodes, it kind of feels like that her just hanging around as one of the Rose's quotes is mainly her escapism, I think, to enjoy herself. Pink Diamond is really all over the place when it comes to her not thinking what she really wants and what she doesn't need. When it came to poor Amethyst and Garnet, since that Amethyst is really enjoying herself than the development that we got in On the One, I can tell for a fact that they are basically the 70s, 80s, or 90s people, since that this is supposed to be taking place in the 70s, 80s, or 90s. I don't know, but my point of view is the fact that these characters really act differently without Steven around, since that Rose Quartz is still a person that is still around until she transformed herself into Steven. It didn't come out right, but judging of how Rose is developed in this episode by meeting Greg for the first time and she actually enjoyed his music, I can guarantee you that if she really wanted to be with Greg, she would have done a lot worse. Let's be truthfully honest that she would have done a lot more worse, knowing full well that her manipulation on Paul would still have the same effect on Greg. The plot of this episode is the classic tale of a male choosing on going on big expensive tours or something like that, or with a woman that they found the most liking to, or true love when it comes to mainly love at first sight. Maybe that's probably Greg's personality on seeing love at first sight when it comes to the perfect woman. But the way I see it, I'm pretty sure that what Greg dealt with back then, he had no other option. And with him being a guitar player is literally what he had. And since that he grew up in a van when it came to trying to move forward with his own life, he can't be able to find the path that he wants to be on, knowing full well that he may have good things happening during that time in his life, but aside from the songs that he sung in this episode, which are really good, he really can't be able to reconsider on what's really important with his life due to the life that he had when it comes to living with his parents. With the songs Comet and Destiny work well into the story when it comes to Greg's character, I'm pretty sure that him picking the choice on being with Rose is somewhat better, because if he picked going to Empire City with the Big Show, he will probably be in limbo by being in a position where he can't be able to find a direction, and Steven wouldn't even exist. But in all honesty, this episode, for what it is, it really shows that there was a lot going on between Greg's character and Rose's character. So for me personally, this episode, while not as good as I remember it, it's still good for mainly the development of Greg and the fact that he's willing to sacrifice mainly the Big Show in Empire City for the sake of being with Rose. But still, I may talk about the episode centering around the two, but knowing full well that it isn't the same like it was before I watched A Single Pair of Rose, I'm probably gonna have a different perspective that is either gonna be low expectations, but I would still try to give them a chance and the benefit of the doubt. I'm giving this episode a 7.5 out of 10.